on! These computers are ancient! They keep freezing on us. Also, in case you haven't noticed, my Wolverine footage is terrible. Maybe I'll be able to film a living, breathing animal on our next assignment, huh? Speaking of which, do you have any idea when that is?
Well, we should have received something by now. Let's check the inbox again.
Oh, good call. It's right here.
On your last assignment, you traveled...
No, please. Please, come on. No. Ah!
How are we supposed to go on our assignments when we can't even receive them? We need help. Know anyone who's good with computers?
Yeah, I think I do. Wait here, I'll be right back. Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Jack.
How are you?
Terrible. My 3 sisters, Miley, Riley, and Kylie, have terrorized me out of my own home. And they're always on the computer. I'm stuck playing games on this.
So, I was wondering if you could give me a hand with something.
I'm listening.
So, I've started up this new project. It's kind of a secret, but we have all this technology I need up and running.
What's in it for me?
An internet connection and a place to play video games away from your sisters.
You know my weaknesses too well, Jack. Got it.
On your last assignment, you traveled north and learned how roads, dams, and resource extraction is putting species at risk. Your next assignment will be much closer to home as you explore grassland habitat. Once covering a significant part of southern Ontario, native grasslands have become one of our most endangered ecosystems. Traditionally home to countless plants and animals, today they are almost gone, replaced by concrete and agricultural lands. Modern grasslands like pastures and hayfields have also become critical habitat. Your next assignment is to investigate 2 endangered grassland species. Tabitha, you'll investigate the American badger. Jack, the loggerhead shrike.
Wait. Jack, on the way over here, you told me you were working on a secret project with species at risk. I thought that would be panda bears and gorillas. You're telling me all this is for some birds and badgers? Who needs badgers? And besides, it's not like we could do anything.
Well, firstly, it's not just birds and badgers. Secondly, there's plenty we can do.
Well, I don't see why, but I guess as long as I have a place to play my games, I'll help out. Speaking of which, the internet connectivity is terrible in here, and these computers are ancient. I have a lot of work to do if I want to play anything other than 8-bit games in this place.
Well, I guess we all have a lot of work to do then, huh? We should get on that.
All right, then.
How's the research going over there?
It's going great. Look at these cute little guys. These birds used to be all over southern Ontario, but the numbers have been going down drastically since the 70s, so I need to keep my eyes peeled for them. Now, I'm no bird expert, but I do think I need to look out for their blocky heads and small hooked beaks. I also need to keep my ears open for them too, because it turns out they're songbirds. Listen. See, I'm going to be meeting up with Hazel Wheeler of Wildlife Preservation Canada. Hopefully she can help me find some in the wild. So, how goes the badger research?
Good. Did you know that the American badger is different from the European badger? Or that badgers are actually part of the weasel family? Did you know that badgers live in holes? The American badger lives in a variety of grassland habitats, including farmlands, and have these big feet and long claws that they use to dig burrows. Looks like I'll be going to a farm with an actual badger burrow on it. I'll be meeting up with a farmer named Tanya and a badger expert named Josh Sayers.
Well, I guess we should probably start to pack up. Oh, and one last thing. If you don't mind, could you take my camera with you and film some badgers for my horror film? You know, I don't think this pretty songbird I'm going to see has anything particularly scary to offer.
I'm no filmmaker, but I'll give it a shot.
See ya. Badgers.
Ah! Oh, sorry. Hey, you're Hazel Wheeler. Hi, I'm Jack.
Yeah, hi, nice to meet you.
This place is teeming with birds, but I don't think I've seen any shrike yet,
Yeah, grassland habitat like this is great for a lot of birds,
including the loggerhead shrike.
including loggerhead shrike. You see, shrikes hunt by sight, so they really rely on these open areas with short grasses so that their prey is more visible to them on the ground. They'll use perches like small trees and shrubs for hunting, and these dense cedars are actually really great for them to build their nests in where they won't be visible from the outside.
If this is such a good habitat, why haven't I seen any yet?
Well, unfortunately, though this is really great shrike habitat, the population has been in pretty drastic decline in Ontario since about the 1970s.
Guess I shouldn't get my hopes up about seeing one then.
On the contrary, I'm actually going to make sure you see more than one today.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to be releasing some young that were raised as part of a breeding program, so you're actually going to have an opportunity to see them up close.
That's amazing, thanks. So, where do you breed them?
Well, here, I can show you. So, at the Toronto Zoo, you'll find all kinds of animals, but tucked away from the lions and the zebras, you'll also find a breeding program for loggerhead shrike, and this is actually just one of the spots in Ontario where we breed these birds. So at the beginning of the spring, the shrike are paired up in the enclosures to breed and raise their young. Inside the enclosures, you'll find all sorts of branches, barbed wire, thorns, just like you'd find in their natural habitat. Here, the young will learn how to fly and how to hunt and impale their prey just like the adults. And we raise usually over 100 young every year. Once the young are old enough, we bring them up to these protected sites where we release them into the wild.
That's cool. I had no idea that loggerhead shrike impaled their prey. I'm thinking they're just pretty songbirds. It's actually pretty creepy.
Yeah, they're pretty cool birds. They're actually the only fully predatory songbird out there.
Why do they impale their prey?
Well, it's basically like saving it for later. Think of it as kind of a food pantry.
Glad I don't have to impale my prey. I'm sorry. I'm just getting a little hungry.
No worries. The release site's pretty nearby. Do you want to go take a look?
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's go.
Hi, Tabitha. Thanks for coming. I heard you're interested in the badger burrow on our farm.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much for meeting me. But I have to ask, this isn't a native grassland habitat, is it?
No, it's not. It may have been at some point in the past, though. Most of the native grassland has been turned into farmland long ago. And while they're not as ideal as the native grasslands of years ago, they're by far the most common grassland type in Ontario now. And these are the areas that the badgers are most often found in.
And the badger? Is there one here?
Well, there is a badger burrow on the edge of a field on the far side of the farm. Would you like to take a look?
Yeah.
Okay, hop in.
So now what?
Well, at this point, we really just find a good spot to hunker down where we can see the cage, but the birds can't see us. And one of us, you if you're up for it, will go up to the cage, open up the release door, and put these bugs on the shelf just outside the door. Hopefully that'll be enough to coax them out. Then you just come back and we really just wait and watch.
And just like that, they're free to live in the wild?
Just like that. So what do you say? Yep for it?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me along, Hazel. It's really been a great experience.
You're very welcome, Jeff.
So, I just don't understand why these guys are in trouble. I mean, if you can just breed and release them, should they make a full recovery?
Well, unfortunately, no, at least not in the short term.
Well, why is that?
Well, there are usually a number of reasons why species like shrike become at risk. Habitat loss is probably the main threat. Another threat is pesticides, which could be killing off their prey insects. Some birds could be hit by cars, other could be killed by predators, including cats. And believe it or not, whether pets or strays, cats kill billions of birds in North America every year.
Wow. This may sound insensitive, and don't get me wrong, the loggerhead shrike it's a really cool bird, but is it really necessary that it stays around? I mean, think of the dodo bird. It used to flock the skies by the billions, turning the day sky to blackest night, and used to have deafening calls heard from kilometers away, and now they're all gone, and other species are still okay.
Well, first of all, I think you're confusing the dodo bird, which was a flightless bird that lived on an island in the Indian Ocean, with the passenger pigeon, which was in North America and is also extinct. And that extinction did have effects. Think of all the animals that would have fed on those pigeons that then had to work that much harder to find food. Or all the seeds that would have been spread by those billions of birds in the sky, creating big healthy forests across the entire continent. And secondly, these animals have evolved over millions of years, and they're a valuable part of this ecosystem, just like every other living thing in it.
Guess I never really thought of it like that. So what can be done?
Well, at this point, we're really just working to gather more data and learn more about the species. So some of the shrikes that were released today did have radio tags on them, so we'll be able to track them and figure out exactly where they're going during the winter and how they get there. Some other birds were also released with color bands, so if anybody spots these birds later on, we'll be able to identify them.
So if someone does spot a loggerhead shrike, they should report it.
Absolutely. In fact, any species at risk seen in Ontario should be reported to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. This kind of information is really important for biologists to learn about species at risk movements and also figure out what habitat areas to protect.
So if habitat loss is likely the biggest problem, is there anything that can be done about that?
Well, you saw how the shrikes were able to survive in those enclosures at the zoo. So if landowners were just able to maintain some pieces of habitat like that where shrikes are already present, then that would certainly help the species. Really, people just need to consider and keep in mind the needs of all the plants and animals that they share their space with.
It was really great to see them up close in person. I really hope they make a full recovery. And thank you so much, Hazel, for having me along. It was great.
You're very welcome, Jack.
So, this is the badger burrow? You bet. What did you do after you found out there was a badger living here? Well, the short answer is nothing.
What? They don't interfere with farming?
No, not at all.
Badgers are a top predator in areas like this, and they can actually perform a service for farmers by controlling populations of animals that are more likely to become problems for farmers. Animals like groundhogs and mice and other rodents.
So you're telling me that farmers want badgers on their property? Well, experts have told us that there are only about 200 badgers in Ontario. We feel pretty lucky to have them pass through. Pass through? So that means that they don't live here full time, right?
Well, badgers are actually wander around quite a lot once they reach maturity. We've documented some of them moving up to 14 kilometers in a single night. Sometimes they'll only use these burrows for a night or two, and then other times they'll stay longer and they'll return to them.
Okay, so why are their numbers so low? I mean, they're top predators and they're adaptable, right?
Well, it's a good question. There are a few things to consider. First is that badgers were probably never very common in Ontario. But the small population size that is here now does mean that they're more susceptible to other threats. Things like disease, predators, getting hit by cars, changes in the availability and quality of habitat and prey, and even inbreeding. These are threats that affect all species, but they disproportionately affect animals that have a smaller population size because there's less of a margin for error. Another thing to consider is that badgers are solitary, so this can become a bit of a problem when you have low population sizes and massive territories. It might actually be difficult sometimes for the badgers to even find each other in the breeding season.
So, moving forward, what can people do to help badgers?
Well, we need more information first of all, as even now badgers are relatively poorly understood in the province. So we encourage everybody to report sightings of badgers or potential burrows like this one here, like the one Tanya and her family found. But we also need to educate people about badgers.
I'm really glad that people like you are helping badgers and other species too. I'm hoping to get some video footage of a badger. Do you think there's any chance of that?
Well, it's possible, but you have to keep in mind badgers are nocturnal and they move around a lot. So the badger that dug this, might be miles away by now.
Incredible World investigators are always up for a challenge. Do you mind if I stay back a bit? No, of course not. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're welcome, Tabitha.
Good luck.
All right. Good luck. Bye. Bye.
Hey, Jack.
Hey there, Tabitha. I'm just checking in. It's getting late.
I'm planted outside of Badger Burrow, hoping to get you some footage. I've got a better chance now that it's night, but I'm not even positive that there's one in there. You're gonna owe me one.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tabitha. Listen, I made a meal fit for a shrike, except it doesn't have any impaled mice, worms, or butterflies on it. Want me to save you some?
No, I'm good.
All right. Your loss. My time with the shrikes today was amazing, but I'll tell you later. Good luck, Tabitha.
Thanks.
Jack.
No.
Jack.
Oh. What a terrible nightmare.
Too many horror movies?
Oh, there's no such thing as too many horror movies. Thanks.
Who's that supposed to be?
Who knows? I don't think that's going to work.
Why not?
Loggerhead shrikes are more the victims than the monsters. Poor little guys run out of places to call home.
Hey, have you seen Tabitha?
I think she was out late looking for a badger. We should check up on her. Hey, Tabitha. How'd the rest of the night go?
It went great.
I got you some amazing footage. A badger showed up right after we spoke.
Oh, really?
Yep. Josh was really helpful. And I met a wonderful farmer named Tanya who's sharing her land with a badger. In fact, I found Tanya so inspirational that I've decided to start a project in my own backyard.
Wow, so what are you doing?
Well, like Tanya and her farm, I've decided it's time to start sharing my backyard and create some habitat.
Habitat? What, are you gonna save the world with a birdhouse?
Well, Charlie, since you've asked, it's not just any old habitat. I'm planting some native species like this milkweed here, and I really hope that it's going to create a bit of a home for birds and insects. You know, I bet you're going to see some animals in my yard really soon. That is, if you can tear your eyes away from a screen for a single nanosecond.
You know what? I think it looks great, Tabitha. You did a great job. We'll leave you now so you can get back to your stewardship. So, you want to share some brunch? Cook us up something. I wonder if you can kebab an egg.
Thanks, but I think I'll pass. I've got stuff to do.